What's up, everybody? I'm David Haynes. Welcome to episode number 312 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode is number 312 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast, and it's entitled Fear Breeds and Multiplies. This is part 2 on the fear of the unknown. So if you haven't listened to number 311, I'd urge you to go back and listen to that one first. And I want to say one thing in response to several comments I've gotten from listeners in the past couple of weeks about the amount of quotes that I use and why do I use them. And I just want to say I personally really like quotes. And I use a lot of quotes because many people have told me who are facilitating groups that it's tough to get the guys to talk. So I want to urge all the listeners, as you listen to this or any of the episodes, at least you should have a reaction to the quote. So pick out a quote and be prepared to talk about it. Okay? So here we are with part 2 of Fear of the Unknown. And the first point I want to point out, people fear the unknown, and a negative aspect of the unknown is because it paralyzes us. And when we're paralyzed, we get lethargic, we get stuck, there's no activity going on, we just sort of screech to a halt. And Dale Carnegie, the American self-improvement and motivational speaker and author, said, "Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy." So I want to encourage all of you right up front, wherever home is, and home is where you're staying right now. So whether it's a rehab, a homeless shelter, or wherever you're staying, remember that Dale Carnegie's encouragement to us is don't just sit home and think about it. Get busy, get out there and get busy. So I want to encourage you to get busy digging into the fear of the unknown that you have. Get busy digging into how it paralyzed you and kept you in a state of inaction, because just being in that state breeds more doubt and fear. The second aspect I'd like to look at today is fear can cause us to freeze up in the moment. You know how when something just pops up and we freeze, like we're trying to analyze it, but we're not. Our brain freezes, our body freezes. We're just sort of like deer in the headlights. And I want to encourage you, if you've experienced those situations, we need to dig into them. John F. Kennedy, the U.S. president, said, "There are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction." And Tony Blair, the UK Prime Minister, said, "Whatever the dangers of the action we take, the dangers of inaction are far, far greater." So I want to encourage you, if you're freezing up about anything, if you have in that frozen state started avoiding even putting yourself in that state again, I want to encourage you to take a step towards action, because the risks and costs of action, as John F. Kennedy said, are far less than the long risks of comfortable inaction. So the hidden thought in this one is, are you staying in the comfortable zone, in your comfort zone, frozen? Another aspect of the unknown that keeps us in fear and consequences of staying in fear is that we stagnate. We stop flowing in life. And when we're stagnant, we need to realize that just like stagnant water, it starts to sink. And inaction becomes normal. The pool of water just keeps growing. But I want to encourage you to realize that inaction is a form of decision making. So if you're choosing not to choose something, if you're choosing not to change something, you're actually making a choice to allow it to continue. And Leonardo da Vinci, the Italian Renaissance man, said, "Iron rusts from disuse. Stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind." A lot in that quote. Right off the bat, iron is supposed to sharpen iron, but if we don't use the iron that is in us, it turns to rust. Stagnant water loses its purity. And think about when you become stagnant, how you shift away from your new core values and get tempted by things that you thought you'd conquered. And in cold weather, stagnant water becomes frozen. You need to be aware that the longer you stay stagnant as the seasons of your life change, you may just get frozen there. And you'll find that this stagnant form that you've settled into is just sapping the life away, not only from your body, but from your mind. Another aspect of this is that when we get caught up in this fear of the unknown, we stay stuck. What you're not changing, you're choosing. When you're aware of an undesirable situation or circumstance that you're involved in your life, but you don't take action to alter it, to change it, to pick a new course, a new path to move forward, you're actually choosing to maintain the status quo, even though you're grumbling about it, even though you're complaining about it, even though you hate it. That discomfort becomes more comfortable than taking a step of action. And Norman Vincent Peale, the American author who's well known for his power of positive thinking principles, said, "Action is a great restorer and builder of confidence. Inaction is not only the result, but the cause of fear. Perhaps the action you take will be successful. Perhaps different action or adjustments will have to follow, but any action is better than no action at all." So when you're stuck in this fear of the unknown, inaction may be the result of that, but also is the cause of more and greater fear, which keeps you more stuck. So he's encouraging us by saying any action you take is better than no action at all. So even if you take a step and say, "Oops, I need to tweak it, I need to adjust, I need to try something a little bit different," that's still better than staying stuck and never taking that first step. Another problem with fear of the unknown and staying stuck is that we tend to blame others for why we're stuck. We fail to take responsibility of our own decision to stay stuck because we're afraid of just more consequences if we take a step and it ends up being the wrong thing. But Winston Churchill, the UK Prime Minister during World War II, said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." You got that? When we're staying stuck and blame shifting and blaming others for the reason why we're stuck, it's sort of like saying, "Yeah, I'm taking this path towards recovery, but I'm stopping to throw stones at every dog that barks." Recovery's hard. There's going to be a lot of barking dogs. There's going to be a lot of people snarling at us, so to speak. And we can't stop to throw stones at every one because we'll never reach our destination. And finally, one of the huge aspects of this staying stuck in fear of the unknown is that we miss opportunities. We miss things that are right in front of us because we're afraid to take that step. And Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian poet and novelist, said, "How much I missed simply because I was afraid of missing it." You got that? How much he missed simply because he was afraid of missing it. So we can see the opportunity, but we can be afraid that we might mess it up or we might come too late to the agenda, so to speak. But we need to take that step. And H. Jackson Brown Jr., an American author, said, "Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity." And that's about every opportunity in life. There's nothing more expensive. There's nothing that costs us so much as the opportunity we missed because we were stuck or frozen or paralyzed or afraid because it was unknown. And I'd like to close out this episode, part 2 of the look at the fear of the unknown, with the thought that I hear from lots of guys who say, I never viewed it as a fear of the unknown, but more of a mindset that I'll never be good enough. And that's the most common fear I've found working in addiction and recovery. Most often, to conquer your fear, you have to face it, go through it, not around it. And it's best to go through it with someone who's got your back. So while you're fearing you're never good enough, I want to encourage you to link up closer to that support person who believes you are good enough so you can face your fear of the unknown and move forward. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you were saying that's me as you listen, then it's time now to reach out and join a group. You can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.